Hello, my beautiful people, and welcome back to Feel the Fire podcast. So, today and this entire week is super rainy. My energy is a little off. I'm feeling a lot more resistance towards doing pretty much anything, even like the basic stuff. But sometimes that's a good signal, a good sign to just allow yourself to slow down and do what you want to do. Add a little bit of extra, maybe like downtime, or just not rush, right? This is a constant reminder I have to give to myself all the time. And so when the weather is aligning with that and kind of asking me to slow down, I do my best to listen. I have been feeling like the last couple of weeks were like a whirlwind. I will talk about this more in the future, but some crazy things behind the scenes have been going on, and I've been doing my best to be present and in the moment and not worry about the future. Which somehow, every time I decide to do a random introduction to this podcast or just kind of yap a little bit at the beginning to catch you up as to where I'm at, it always seamlessly integrates with the topic, and I'm so happy that it always happens that way. I pray on it before every episode. I'm always asking God to kind of channel through me, let the messages be heard that are meant to be heard, and I hope that the right people find these messages. I really do this podcast because I love doing it. I don't know how much really comes of it from like certain standpoints, but I don't know. If you're listening and you're enjoying this, just know this is coming straight from my heart. I have no greater agenda other than just wanting to share and being able to express myself in a way that doesn't have to be filtered down into like some little hook or 10-second, 60-second clip on Instagram. I've been doing my best with getting those kinds of posts out there, and I'm finding it to be a bit challenging because it's just not naturally how my brain works. I much prefer this long form content where I get to really chat and let things flow a little more authentically versus trying to get into the structure of media, especially in like bite sized niblets that will keep your attention. Because if you have seen, I don't know, like maybe that skill can be developed for me, but right now it's not at the top of my priority list. The top of my priority list is taking care of my physical human body, while also supporting my clients doing the same thing. What are we without our health and our bodies and our wellness? So, without further ado, let's get into it. When you are the one who has it all together, how do you actually get the opportunity or give yourself the permission to relax and unfold a little bit? First, it's really an identity that many of us wear, especially if you're someone who is a frequent listener of this podcast. Maybe you relate. This is something that I had a really tough time with. I used to perceive myself as the one who had it all together, and I think people around me also had this perception. Friends would tell me this too, like, oh, I never really felt like I had to check on you because you're someone that always gives the energy of like everything's great, and if road bumps occur, you seamlessly move through them and you're fine. This was very true about me, and of course, I've gone through this evolution over the last few years where that has really shifted. It's not to say that I'm someone that is just like a raging hot mess. Maybe sometimes, I won't deny that. But ultimately, there was part of me that needed to let my guard down a little bit and allow people to come in and support me. It seems like it's something that's just a switch, like you just flip the switch and suddenly you're totally fine with it, but that's not exactly how it works. When you initially have that realization that there is so much pressure and responsibility on your shoulders, it takes time to allow your nervous system to start receiving support and kind of divvying up that responsibility that you've taken on. I know that I made myself responsible for so many things that I really didn't have to, but I chose. And I wouldn't undo it. I was really happy to do many of those things because it came from this place of wanting to show people love, wanting to give, wanting to use the things that I've worked really hard to earn and allow other people to enjoy the fruits of my labor, especially when I wanted people to do things with me. So, for example, I am an eldest daughter in a first generation American household. So naturally, there are a lot of responsibilities that go to the child in that position. I do have an older brother, but in my culture, boys and girls were treated a little bit differently, and maybe not to a conscious standpoint. Maybe it was conscious, I'm not sure. Again, I always say this, like, I don't blame my parents for any of this. I'm not doing that at all. I think these were just societal norms around gender roles. And so I often would be the one that would take care of things. If something went wrong in the household, it was my responsibility. It's like my brother kind of had like this little crown on his head, which I admired and looked up to. And so I always strive to be more like him while also taking on a lot of like the traditional feminine roles. So if I wanted to do something, hang out with my friends, I'd have to clean. I would support with cooking. And as I got older, I took on a lot of responsibility with like wanting to pay for things for my parents when my business was doing well, because it was part of my dream to be able to give back to my family as much as they had poured into me. But I maybe did a little extra for from some people's perspective. Like I would tend to overextend myself and give even when I might have not necessarily had enough for myself, but I still wanted to give because that was my focus. I didn't stop and ask myself, how am I feeling? I think there was this subconscious thing going on in my brain that I also had to break for myself to be able to work on this element. I would think or have thoughts around like, I don't really deserve to be happy. Being happy is like this luxury, and in this lifetime, I am meant to serve. So it's okay that my happiness cup isn't always filled because I got some degree of fulfillment from helping other people. When you live this way and have this belief, even when people try to pour back into you, you can accept it. I struggled to allow people to give that to me. I could say things like, especially in the mirror of romantic partnerships, I'd be like, oh, I want a man that's going to take care of me. But I couldn't let someone do that. It was so hard for me to even show that I would like help. It's like, I couldn't even let a guy open a door for me, sort of thing. And even though I wanted to not have all this responsibility on me, I didn't know how to let go of it. And I'm sure to some degree there was an element of the desire for control there too. If I do it, no one can do it as well as I can do it. So I'm just going to get it done. No one can read my mind and do it the way I need it to be done. And I hear this so often from clients as well. Being able to release some of that and allowing someone to step in, even if they can't do it to the best of their ability. Knowing that you step back and they might have to struggle a little bit to do the things that you were doing for them, or learn the skills that they need to be able to take care of that thing that you're letting go of. And you have to let people kind of falter a little bit, and you have to work on your communication skills. Wow, I just tried to put two words into one, which I do too often. But yeah, you have to develop those communication skills in order to kind of share with them what it is you want that to look like and how this can be something that's mutually beneficial. Practicing nonviolent communication, which if you're not familiar with, that's something good. I'm not going to get into it too much today, but it's something good to look up because there's an actual practice of how to communicate these things with other people so that it is properly received. I'm going to give you a very beautiful, simple example. If you want your partner to do something for you, right? Like say you're the woman and you're cooking and cleaning and doing all of the things and basically running the household, and your partner maybe doesn't do certain things around the house, and you're trying to relinquish a little bit of control and have them step up and support you. I'm using this as an example because I've worked through this very specific example with a few people recently. So, we'll use the trash can example, okay? Or loading the dishwasher. You're someone that always does it, right? And so now you're wanting your partner to do it. Your partner does it, but they don't do it in the way that you do it. there's an element of you that's watching it, witnessing it, and you're frustrated and you're like, sheesh, let me just do this myself. Like, this is not how I would do it. You get in there and you rearrange. And what this actually does is, number one, sure, it makes you feel a little bit better because it's done the way that you want it to do. Two, it's almost making your partner feel like what they're trying to do is not enough for you. And that, can go even deeper depending on what their wounding is and their degree of confidence and ability to work through this with you. And then on the third element of this, you're essentially not letting yourself let go. You want it to be done, and it's okay if it's not done exactly how you want it. And there are ways to communicate if you need it done a different way specifically for some reason, right? Like if there's a technical issue where it has to be done a certain way or something like that, you know what I mean? And you can communicate that in a way that is effective without it being like, oh my gosh, you know what, forget about it, I'll just do it myself, I don't even care, go sit down, which is the mode that many of us get into because we're triggered, right? And we have to work through those triggers in order to start to let go of some of this. It is impossible to be the one that has it all together all the time and do every single thing and make sure it's all done perfectly. You are going to deplete your energy and drain yourself of your natural feminine energy. This need to control and always be steering the ship puts us in our masculine. This can throw things off balance for our physical body. Again, this kind of fed into my journey and kind of why I created Body and Soul Freedom, because these are small elements. This is a perfect example of how our soul almost feels trapped, right? Like we're so out of balance with our masculine and feminine by needing to push, needing to do, needing to accomplish. And while many women can carry that energy, there's a point where you need to put that down and soften. We can't stay in that masculine hyperdrive. That's where we start to run into these issues of fatigue and exhaustion and weight gain. These can be ways that our body is communicating to us that there is rest that is needed in order for us to start to shift. Okay? So initially, when you're going into this place where you're like, okay, I'm going to let go a little bit, I'm going to start to take more rest, I'm going to allow other people to step up and take responsibility for some of the things that I have taken on. The first thing that we'll run into is that feeling of rest, feeling unsafe, because for so long we've correlated our worth with what our output is. So when we start to become still, we feel like our value is actually diminishing. That's tough to feel that, and it's not always super conscious, but it is happening. And eventually we realize, oh my gosh, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling if I'm not doing more, that I'm not providing value. Okay, and so to reassure ourselves with that, I'll get into it a little bit more on the reframes, but we have to talk ourselves through this. These are essentially like, neurological pathways that we have to reroute. We're going to feel like our nervous system is a bit foggy. It's almost like stuck in this like do mode, that when we try to enter relaxation mode, it feels like something's off. We feel almost like antsy. We feel like, what are we doing sitting down? Like an instant boredom or discomfort in actually sitting and resting. That's our nervous system freaking out that we're choosing a different pattern. That does not mean what you're doing is wrong. Rest is exactly what you're aiming to do. You're not bad at resting, you're just retraining your nervous system to be okay with stillness. You can't think your way into the relaxation. It is something that you practice regulation in order to do. And I've talked about this many times with different methods of regulating your nervous system, and there's many different ways that you can practice this. There are things that you do in the moment to regulate, and there are things that you should do almost as like medicine that you practice on a daily basis, so that you're almost on that preventative end, so that you're not feeling dysregulated later. Things like meditation, tapping, EFT, practices of joy, practices of pleasure. These can be perfect examples that you can implement to help through this process where your nervous system is essentially like re-regulating. Okay. And what we also want to be careful of is not making rest another performance metric. Especially a lot of my health and fitness babies that love the tracking devices, we can develop an obsession with these things if we're not careful. We get really into like what the sleep score is, or like getting our heart rate super low, and these can be helpful tools to kind of gauge how we're doing. Just making sure that we're using them as support, not becoming another thing that actually causes another point of stress for us if we're not accomplishing. So it's always good to keep in mind many things that are healthy can become unhealthy depending on how they mentally affect us. So keeping that in mind, knowing that it's a delicate balance and you always want to be in a reflective state or tapping into a reflective state routinely to reevaluate how things are working for you and if these things are serving a purpose and actually taking you to where you want to go without any backlash, right? Okay, so we can commonly try to slip into something that I would consider not true rest, right? So what's not considered true rest if we are seething in guilt while resting, okay? If that is what is coming up, our body's not really relaxing. So for example, if I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take a rest, I'm gonna pull it back a little bit and watch a TV show and unwind. If I am stewing in guilt the whole time and feeling really bad that I'm doing it, I'm not truly resting. I'm not really going to feel revived after I watch that show if in the back of my mind that's what I'm feeling. Maybe you did a restful activity by sitting on the couch, but it's not really recharging you if the emotions are all wonky still. So people will say like, you know what, I did take the bath, or I did some self-care, or I did take an afternoon for myself. But if those feelings aren't lining up with that action and behavior, you're not going to feel rejuvenated. This is why so many people practice the arts of self-care, right? And it's very much hyped up on social media of like, okay, this thing is self-care, this thing is self-care, this thing is self-care. And that is so beautiful, but if we are not self-caring for our nervous system and actually allowing that to come down during that time, and we immediately feel anxious, especially when we think about next tasks to do, something is not right. That is not us truly entering and allowing ourselves to reset and refill our cup. And trust me, this is normal. If you're experiencing it, just know that it's okay and that we just have to pay attention to that and come back to a practice of nervous system regulation. Find one that works for you and start to practice it, even if it's just pulling back and like taking some moments to experience some deep breaths, jumping up and down and shaking the body, doing wiggles and jiggles, doing 5 minutes of yoga. You can even do a pre-recorded breathwork session. There's so many things available online right there at your fingertips. It's just a matter of finding a time to be consistent. And I always say, like, start small. If doing a nervous system regulation practice for an hour feels overwhelming, it doesn't have to be that. It can be as simple as 5 minutes a day. It can be 2 minutes a day. It can be 30 seconds in the very moment, at least, to get you consistent. I would much rather have my clients do something consistently every single day than once a week. So if it makes more sense for you to be like, okay, I'm going to wake up and before I get out of my bed, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths, freaking great. Honestly, amazing. These small practices, especially when you're someone that is like on top of your game most of the time, and it might feel like it's not much, it's not enough, I need to do more, but this is exactly what you're unlearning. you're detaching your worth with your output. You're realizing that how much you do isn't your value. And if that is true, that means any small amount, especially when it's contributing towards your goal, a more gentler goal of being present in your body and feeling safe in your body so that you can relax, make sure you allow yourself to do it and not feel like it has to be more than what it is. If it is that 30 seconds, if it is that 1 minute, wherever you can consistently fit it in is the perfect place to do it. You want to habit stack something that you're already doing, just layer it in there. Okay. If you're starting to notice another thing, signs that it's not real rest, jumping back, I know I went on a little tangent as usual, but if your downtime is starting to have a to-do list, that is not real rest. If you are scrolling instead of restoring, that is not rest, mama or papa, whoever's listening, human, they, them, wherever, whoever you are. Just know that scrolling, while it can feel like, oh, I have a minute to myself, let me scroll. A lot of us do this. Again, that is not really you resting. That is you distracting yourself from what you're feeling. Very different than true relaxation, which maybe we want to take a step back and define. Relaxation and rest is when your nervous system is calm. How you know your nervous system is calm, I'll give you a beautiful, simple example. If there's a sudden noise, it wouldn't faze you. When your nervous system is not calm, a sudden noise would freak you out and you would be like panicking. I'm not talking about like reflexes, of course, but you know when you're on edge. You know, maybe when you're just sitting on the couch and your partner comes to touch your shoulder and you like jump and you're like, whoa, right? Your nervous system, that is a sign that you are on edge. You are not relaxed. But if you are so relaxed, you're like melting into the couch and really feeling at peace, very tranquil, very calm. Even if you got some like weird news, you would take a pause, or if something like fell off the table or you spilled your drink, you wouldn't freak out, right? These can be helpful signs. So relaxation, you're truly calm, versus you just like distracting yourself from something. It's more of a numbing, right? Like eating a super highly palatable snack and overeating. It's a bit of a numbing action versus like being in the moment and really enjoying that pleasure and really tasting what you're eating. It's a very different experience. So really recognize like, and asking yourself that question too, like, am I numbing out or am I truly relaxing? They're different. And so you want to really check yourself on that so that you're taking proper action, again, to fill yourself up. Okay. If you are feeling tension, so we store this tension in our body so much. Think about this. Right now, I want you to close your eyes. If you're driving, it's okay, you don't have to close your eyes. But take a moment to be like, okay, I'm just going to do a body scan and relax each part of my body. First, unclench your jaw. So many of us are walking around with a tight jaw, okay? Let it hang, let that tension melt. Another place, in our shoulders. Let your shoulders melt down and back. Another big place, hips. Many women have really tight hips because we are storing tension there. Okay. Our neck, this is a common place. Allow your neck to relax along with your shoulders. So going from head to toe, relaxing the eyes, the muscles around the face, around the lips, around the jaw, letting the neck, the shoulders, the back, that upper back, that's a big one for me personally. Allowing that to relax all the way down your spine, allowing your stomach to relax. You might not feel the tension in your stomach, but that's another common one of people who are always holding things together. They experience digestive issues because they're storing a lot of tension in their stomachs, in their digestive tract. So if you're experiencing chronic heartburn, stomach pains, indigestion, having a lot of tough time with foods and not being able to make any sense of why our body's responding a certain way, a lot of nausea, vomiting, these can be things, especially if they're like unexplainable for many other reasons, that can be stress responses. So consciously thinking about relaxing the stomach, even though you can't do a lot to physically relax your actual stomach organ, consciously thinking about it is going to help in this process as well. Okay, so all the way down to the hips, relaxing the hips, the thighs, the muscles around the knee, the calves, the ankles, the toes. Full body scan and allow yourself to relax. Everyone holds tension in different ways. You might even notice you're clenching your fists, things like this. Allow your whole body to release whatever it is holding on to. And lastly, if you can only rest when everything is done, that is not a regulated nervous system. I'm, of course, encouraging you to get your tasks done for the day, but again, if you're an overachiever, it is likely that your task list is never ending. So start to check in and be like, what really needs to be done today? Do I actually have to do this today? If this is going to keep me up past my bedtime, keep me up late, not give me any time for me today, then it can wait. There will always be like random little circumstances where you might put that rule aside, but for the most part, if you're really honest with yourself, most things can wait. Okay, most things can wait, friends. So it's okay to put it off. You don't have to be 100% productive and maximize every second of your day and do as much as you possibly can until you just pass out at the end of the day. You're working on overdrive, and eventually your nervous system is going to shut down if you keep pushing this way. You're likely already noticing some resistance. So now what we want to start to do is reframe things, right? Our body is naturally, and our mind is going to naturally meet ourselves with resistance when we try to relax, when we start to come undone, when we start to let emotions out, when we actually share with someone that we are feeling stressed and exhausted and overworked. When we start to try to relax and rest and take those moments, our body will rebel because we're not used to it, and our body and our mind are telling us that something is off. We start to reframe things. So when it starts to come up where we're starting to feel like, okay, I can only sit down if I do X, Y, Z. The mental reframe. Rest is not a reward, rest is mandatory. Repeating that to yourself. And again, I love to use tapping, so emotional freedom techniques. So if you're watching on YouTube, I've been trying to put some of these up on YouTube in my, honestly, right now I'm in my dining room type area, but hopefully the videos only get better in the future. But tapping the different meridian points all around the body. So there's distinct areas, if you practice tapping, that you can do this in that are going to help. So doing your opening sequence, moving through the circuit of your body. When these thoughts come up, tapping starts to include some of these mantras, some of these reframes. We work them in as we release those thoughts that are coming up, like I don't deserve to rest. We reframe it and we remind ourselves, I am safe in my body. Tapping, shaking, jiggling, dancing, whatever you have to do, and bringing that mantra in, reminding yourself, rest is not a reward, it is mandatory. Okay, I don't have to earn rest. Okay, and start really small. Even if it's just saying, okay, I'm just going to take some deep breaths in this moment, right? If you're like, I can't even think of a reframe of this thing, which comes up a lot. It's like, I think it's a practice to reframe and spin it around, especially because a lot of times the reframes that we think of don't feel super believable to us. I always say you almost have to do like what I like to call the ladder of believability. So if I don't feel like I deserve to rest, if saying like rest is mandatory doesn't feel right yet, I could say this is a moment that I give myself permission to rest, and start small. Okay, if I'm not certain I believe it all the time, then yeah, tell yourself like, right now I can, at least in this, I get 30 seconds of rest, whatever feels believable, however you need to break it down. But like I said, if you're finding resistance or you're really not able to get that reframe, I do find it really helpful to always come back to your breath, because it's something that's always with you. or to just jump around. I know it sounds super, super silly, but if you have kids, it makes it really easy. If you live alone, easier. Just jump up and down and shake and wiggle your arms and like let everything flail and jiggle and allow the muscles to shake, let the fascia release. This is going to disrupt those thought patterns and get you back into your body and shake out any tension that's building up when we're challenging these thought patterns. Our body is responding even if we're not fully conscious. So coming back into it is key. Okay, however you need to do that. And it's okay if it's a little messy and it doesn't really make sense and it feels really awkward at first. That is so, so normal. Just don't let it stop you from doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm giving you that reassurance that you are on the right track. These are normal patterns of resistance. They come up for everyone. If you weren't having any resistance to making these changes, it means that those belief patterns were never really there. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with you. You are doing exactly the right things when you meet that resistance. And when you meet it, you have the skills now, as we just talked about, to meet that resistance, acknowledge it, accept it, don't judge it, and allow it to shift. Okay, so often we get frustrated that we don't feel the way we want to be feeling when we're trying to rest. We put judgment on ourselves, and that actually makes it worse. Rather, what you want to do is just accept that truth. Don't try to change it. Don't try to force it. Just notice it, right? If you're not fully able to get into that reframe spot yet, noticing itself is so powerful. Just calling it out, just being like, you know what? I'm struggling with this, right? And again, this is part of it. If you're someone that has it all together, sometimes noticing is the biggest space of resistance because we don't even want to accept that we're not feeling good at resting, as silly as that sounds. But when you just don't, it's just so common. Like I think of my sister in these moments too, when she would tell me like, just do things you're bad at. Okay. And the reason that's so relevant to this moment is because when you feel like you're bad at something, as someone who always feels like they have to have their stuff together, it feels not good when you're not good at something. You know what I mean? Like if you can relate to that, you totally get it. It's frustrating. And I really let that go. And these were the little ways that I'd started to do that. It's just be like, I'm just going to own exactly what I'm feeling, exactly what's true, exactly what's alive for me right here, right now, and not judge myself for it. Just say it, just notice it. I don't have to do anything about it. Just bring light to it. That in it of itself can help you release. So just know that's an amazing first step. Truly, truly. I'm not just saying that. It truly is a huge first step and can oftentimes be enough for people to feel a shift just by noticing, seeing, calling it out, not judging. That is the key. Self-acceptance, you have to be okay with exactly where you're at, even if you want to change. If you never accept yourself for where you're at right here, right now, in this moment, you will never be able to change. That is really hard for people to wrap their mind around because we take self-acceptance as meaning that we never will change. If I accept myself right here now in this moment, that means I'm always going to be this, and I don't want to accept it because I don't want to accept this current state. Again, this is something I hear very often. And the truth is, it's the exact opposite. It's once you accept where you are, you have the power to shift. But as long as I resist, that resistance will always be there, and it will feel so much harder to change. You will always be fighting an uphill battle until you learn to accept yourself and everything that you are right here, right now, in this moment. So just know, this can all shift for you. When you are the one that has it all together, it's okay. It is safe for you to come undone. Being vulnerable is not easy, but it becomes something you get more comfortable with the more you show up to do it. And the vulnerability of saying, I can't do this all. is what is going to allow more love, more support, those relationships you've been craving. This is what gives them permission to come in. I know I felt really lonely. I was like Little Miss Independent when I was in this phase of like, no, I always have it together. I don't need to rest. I do everything all the time. I get stuff done. I don't need to take a moment. I don't watch TV. I don't do anything for fun. I'm work, work, work. I went so hard for so many years. Even when I would try to have fun, I couldn't have fun because all I could think about was work. And now I won't say that I never have those moments. I certainly do, but they're much less frequent than what they used to be. It used to be every single time I like couldn't even really have fun because I was so worried about doing more for my future or accomplishing more or doing more. And now I can actually let myself tap into joy, tap into pleasure, to be fully present in the moment and not be worrying about my to-do list. Okay? It's okay to not always be productive. Your value is not equivalent to your output. You are worthy. And again, the love that you are seeking, the closeness you are seeking, lies within allowing people to start to help you and support you. And again, there's resistance to this. Like, imagine someone offers to help you and you say no. This is the same thing as like someone trying to imagine you are handing someone a present and they just looked at you and just slapped the present out of your hand and said, no thanks, pal. That would hurt your feelings, right? People get pleasure from helping you, and remind yourself of that. Don't feel guilty about receiving. So often when we're in that archetype, this specific archetype that I talked about today, we have a hard time receiving. The balance is out of sync. You're giving, 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 and you want to receive. You consciously think wouldn't it be nice if someone could do this for me and take care of me? But you'll realize that if you don't let people do it, then you're never going to be able to receive. You have to get comfortable with receiving that support, that help, and that comes from your vulnerability first. It comes from relinquishing some control. It comes from things being a little bit messy, and remind yourself that is okay. Come back to your breath, come back to your nervous system, nurture it, and you'll come into this grounded state where you can start to be back in your feminine. You can start to receive. You can be taken care of. And it is a practice you continue to show up time and time again to expand your capacity to receive in this way. It is a practice. It is a muscle that you need to strengthen. Okay. So if you are on this journey, I highly encourage you to check out my Body and Soul Freedom program. It combines elements of health and how to nurture your soul. If you are someone that shows up in this way, who is the one that always has it together, and you're ready to release your soul and start to tap into your creative freedom and your play and make peace with your feminine energy and really take care of your body in a way that allows you to be regulated, to get your nervous system to match up with the life that you want, to start to allow that to come in, that is exactly what Body and Soul Freedom teaches us to do. So check it out, links in the show notes. And I would say, as always, like the Food Freedom Reset is a good starter kit to Body and Soul Freedom. If you want to start there, check it out. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to see you again next